That's what we need more of. We need to be calling the heart, the spirit, the moral imperatives for responding to climate action too, and seeing the gift in the bringing us together, the cultivating the we in that. And in that spirit, within the Climate Action Coalition is also an interfaith component, and we are longing to be connecting more with interfaith communities within Fairbanks too, because there are gifts from the spirit aspect in a wide variety of faith and spirit traditions. And in the face of climate change, we need the yes and we need all of us bringing forth our gifts. Mm-hmm. So to that end, I'd like to be inviting our next two speakers up to be speaking from the interfaith vantage point in Fairbanks. Our first one is Ritchie Musick. She's the head of Call to Action Alaska, composed of Catholics working for social justice within their church. She's a former science teacher at Lathrop High School, where she taught biology, earth science, environmental science, and headed Club Earth. She's lived in Alaska for more than 40 years and was an adjunct of UAF teaching natural history in Alaska. She is passionate on caring for our Arctic environment and driven to action by the Pope's encyclical on climate change. And our second interfaith speaker in sharing that spoke of the wheel for us on attending climate change is Jan Bronson. Jan's a member of Anchorage Friends Meeting for Quakers and the Interfaith Earth Care Action Network. She's lived in and loved Alaska pretty much since birth. And when I happened to speak with her last week, I had no idea that she would end up being here. And it was as she heard this was happening, she was like, yes, I need to come up from Anchorage and help support Fairbanks and interfaith energy and the efforts for moving us forward as a locality, state, nation, and globe. So,
I used to write on one side of the board the word science and on the other side religion. Under the word science, I would write how and what. And under religion, I would write why. And then I would write under science, the scientific method. And under religion, I would write faith. And I would go on to explain how important both of them are. That it was under religion and faith that we are united together as a family of man. And that's where we get the responsibility to each other as brothers and sisters. Then I would warn them that just don't try to use faith to prove science and don't use the scientific method to try to prove religion. And then we would go into our studies with a little bit more understanding. Science does give us data and predictions on climate change, but it's our people's responsibility to act on them. Many people are waiting for industry to answer, to develop new technologies, to have power plants, reduce airline emissions, to have our legislators enact things to do it for us. But really, it's an important part for each and every one of us to take action. Cumulatively, if billions of people on this planet all did something to reduce their carbon footprint and to reduce their energy use, it would definitely make an impact. This last summer, Pope Francis released his encyclical on climate change. One of the things he pointed out in it that Christians have really misinterpreted Scripture. When they read that God gave man dominion over the earth, we have blown it, that he was really giving us the stewardship of the earth, that we should be taking care of it. And it's time to change things and to step forward as members of faith communities and take that stewardship. And that applies, he was making that call not only to Christians or Catholics and Christians, but to all people, to the Jews, to the Hindus, to the Muslims, to the agnostics, to everybody as a member of the family of man to take action. Here in Fairbanks, we have many of our faith groups that come together to stand very actively as part of the Fairbanks Action Coalition. Presently, we have Catholics, we have the Quakers, we have the Friends, we have the Native groups, we have the University Sustainability Department, the Northern Alaska Environmental Center, the Presbyterians, and I hear the Lutherans and Methodists are talking and coming on board. And there's room for everyone, not just of organized faiths, but as individuals and of any group to really join the Fairbanks Climate Action Coalition and try to work with us to do three things. One, to reduce their own energy consumption in their own homes and in their own groups, and their own carbon dioxide output. To influence our legislators. The sign up there, demand that our legislatures set forth protective laws and legislation. And then last, but to influence industry to continue to develop sustainable technologies. So with that, we invite all people to join the Fairbanks Climate Action Coalition.
Woo!
Good afternoon. Climate change calls us to deepen our relationships with each other, with the earth, and with that love, that mystery that surrounds us and that guides us and that we call by many names. It is a spiritual concern. Climate change is calling forth a we, and it's calling us to deepen relationships with people who we might not normally spend time with. And that's kind of the essence of the interfaith aspect of this. We need to get out of our comfort zone, cross the street, and go to their church, go to their meeting. Because God's creation is good. The land, the water, the creatures, all the great systems and cycles are good. And God is calling for us to protect them. We in Alaska don't only go to mosques or temples or churches to worship and know God. Where else do we go? Outside. That's right. You get that. And Alaska Native people have known that for thousands of years. They know it in the cells of their beings. We need to learn from them. They have generations and generations of tending and partnering with the land. And now all of us can join in that. We can be partners. We have a relationship with the tundra, with the oceans, with the little streams over the rocks, right? With the salmon. And when I reflect back about why I'm standing here, which is definitely out of my comfort zone, it's because when other Quakers come up to Alaska, they tell me Alaskans get this piece in a way that we don't in the lower 48 as strongly. And they encouraged us to recognize that spiritual yearning and calling for God's creation as part of our spiritual call to address climate change. And of course, there's the piece about loving your neighbor as yourself, right? Kind of the heart of the Christian message. And not just a Christian message, it's the underpinning for Judaism and for Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism. They have a concept of ahimsa, nonviolence. In Judaism, there's the 50-year jubilee where the prisoners are set free and debts are forgiven. You know, we need to address climate change as a human family because we love our brothers and sisters. But truly loving your neighbor as yourself is tough, right? Climate change is going to give us a chance to practice. Can we do what's difficult?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we do what's inconvenient?
Yeah.
Can we be afraid and reach out to each other? And are there gifts for that? Gifts in that for us as well? What does God ask us to do? I have two short quotes that I'll read to you. One is from the Episcopalians. This is what the Episcopalians understand. The Episcopal Church stands in solidarity with those communities who bear the greatest burdens of global climate change. indigenous people, subsistence communities, communities of color, and persons living in deprivation around the world. Can we do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is from Tibetan Buddhism, from the Dalai Lama. We have a brief window of opportunity to take action, to preserve humanity from imminent disaster, and to assist the survival of the many diverse and beautiful forms of life on Earth. Future generations and the other species that share the biosphere with us have no voice, right? Future generations and the other species, they have no voice to ask for our compassion, our wisdom, and our leadership. We must listen to their silence. We must be their voice too and act on their behalf.
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So, Friends, Quakers have a tradition of addressing and responding to and looking for that of God in other people. We're not alone in that. Other faiths have that too. And so we gather and we think about, do we know the way forward?
Working on it.
And the answer is yes. In general, we do. And it's the same way forward that we use when we're facing any challenge. It is to start by listening deeply to God, to each other, to our inner hearts, then to act best we can, knowing that more light will be granted us as we go, and then to change course if needed or modify course. It's kind of like riding a bicycle. You can't steer the bicycle until you're actually moving. So I invite myself, get on the bicycle, steer it, change course, listen, act, change course, listen, act, change course. Interfaith groups are mushrooming everywhere. Diane at the table over here would be happy to sign you up. And all of us, it is like we are pushing on the side of a great ship. It is slow, we feel nothing, but we push, and we push. And eventually, we will turn that ship.
Yeah.
Every faith community, every culture has stories of people coming together and doing what had seemed impossible. It is about caring for our neighbors. It is about being good stewards. We will speak as people of faith or not. We will do right by our neighbors. We will do right by our children's children. And we will do right by this great natural world that sustains us. Thank you.
Thank you.